It has been 9 long years since Earth made peace with the clans, after which time we see a man sitting in a bar inside the inner sphere, drinking his beer, contemplating things. Another man walks up and sits down next to him and orders a fancy drink. The first man is slightly disheveled and hunched over. A visible scar on the man's jaw adds to the sternness of his eyes. The second is dressed far too nice for the establishment. His straight posture and clean-shaven appearance shows he's not used to this place. The sounds of the music and conversation in the background continue as the second man turns to the first and speaks. "I have a job for you." The disheveled man says, "Then you should post the request on MercNet." Second man, "Because I need to talk to you directly." First man, "Well, nothing's stopping you," as he takes a quick drink. Second man says, "I have an offer that pays extremely well for those that can pull it off." First man, slightly interested, "Exactly how extreme are we talking?" The second man says, 1.5 billion C-bills. The noise in the bar gets much, much lower for a few seconds and then picks up again. The first man doesn't even look the second one in the eye before saying, "Paying that much, you must be hitting something really big. What are you going to try to do? Take terror or something?" In the middle of his chuckle, the second man simply calmly says, "No, Earth." Suddenly, the only thing you can hear in the bar is the music in the background. The first man turns to the well-dressed man and says, "You might want to listen up real close. No one here is going to go to Earth at any price. Not unless you got a death wish." The well-dressed man says, "I know it'll be difficult," but cutting him off, the disheveled man says, "Difficult? No. Difficult is facing the Davions when you're outnumbered 2-1. Difficult is fighting the Combine when you don't have any ammo. Difficult is surviving the front lines of another succession wars. Going to Earth is a fucking death sentence." He goes to drink his drink again. The fancy man, "Were you not just there?" Putting his drink down, "Yeah, me and about 2 other idiots like me who thought they could get their hands on Earth tech and maybe some personnel. Everyone in this room has been to Earth at least once. I've been there 6 times in the past decade." Stopping to drink his drink, the well-dressed man chimes in, "That is why I have come to you. You have the most experience dealing with Earth." Putting his drink back down, he says, "Yeah, that's why I'm telling you to fuck off." Turning emotions, "Look around you. These are some of the best mech warriors and aerospace jockeys you will find anywhere. Not a single one of them will go to Earth now." The well-dressed man says, "Why not?" Taking a deep breath, the disheveled man says, "You remember that 2,000 that tried to raid Earth a month ago?" "Yes." "Just under 300 of us came back. A single dropship was able to just barely limp back to the rendezvous point for the Trump ship." The well-dressed man, "Could you tell me what happened?" Suddenly, the disheveled man was very, very quiet and finished off his entire drink, put it on the bar, and motioned for a new one. Without looking at the well-dressed man, he says, "You need to remember that Earth doesn't follow the same conventions, in particular the Ares Convention, that we do. They will use whatever tactics they can to kill you." He takes another drink from his newly filled glass and continues, "When we first jumped in, everything was quiet. At least for the first day of transport from the jump ship to the planet. Then we started getting these small signals that would enter our radar and disappear. We figured now they were scouts or some sort of passive sensor array trying to detect us. It was only on the second day of our trip from the 4th planet of the orbit of Earth. When we got about 6 hours out, all hell broke loose. Their aerospace fighters are designed far greater than ours. I don't even know if those things are designed to enter atmosphere. They tore our fighters up and picked at us as much as they could. One of our dropships was disabled and we lost communications with it less than an hour and a half later. taking another drink. When we got close to the planet, that's when things got real bad. Not only were their fighters nipping at us, but their battleships began to target us. They got 2 of our ships before we even broke into orbit. As we descended, everyone knew it was going to go bad. One ship broke up, leaving only 3 remaining. We had to hot drop the first wave in an area we like to call Shangri-La. Taking another drink, he continues, when you reach the ground, the people who live there, they live so elemental lives, you would think it'd be safe. You're wrong. The mountains limit our movements, and it seems like everyone there has an elemental suit of some sort. What's worse is they like to get right on top of you. I saw one of my pilots get his cockpit torn open, and he was ripped out of his command couch and thrown down the 60 feet to the ground, impaling himself on whatever the hell was down there. His mech toppled over and ended up killing several of the Earthers, but it didn't even slow them down. If anything, it made them move faster. We tried to get what we went for, but it wasn't long before it was a race for survival. Word came from one of the other dropships that they'd been covered in light mechs and that the main force was marching over the horizon. That was the last I heard of them. Our mechs ran as fast as we could to try to get to the dust-off site, but more than half of us were picked off. He takes another drink and tries to calm himself. As we got there, the wounded were being hurried inside and the engines were starting up, which was dangerous because if the engines start too early, you can cook everybody around you. Myself and 2 others from my group, along with 2 from another group that went in the opposite direction, ran to get our mechs inside. As the doors were closing, I could see at least one more of our men limping his mech towards us. The dropship commander didn't waste time firing up the engines and going full burn off the planet. The 2 dropships remaining lift off, but they didn't even get a kilometer up when one of the engines took a hit. All I could hear from the other dropship was the screaming over the radio as they desperately tried to get control back before crashing back down on the planet. He took another drink. We had to be redlining the engines as we made it into space. That's where they were waiting for us. Those battleships ended up spacing much of our crew as they stripped off the hull on glancing blows as they gave us those hits. Their fighters didn't seem to want to hit us as hard, but when the battleships didn't give any chase, the fighters began to dog us the whole way with hit and run attacks until halfway back to the jump ship. With all the damage the ship had taken, he took a breath and took another drink. We were barely able to dock. Only 2 fighters out of all of them made it back, along with 5 mechs, and they were highly damaged. Our employer ended up losing big from that and tried to blame us. But everyone knows the truth. He reaches over and grabs a fresh drink from the bar and begins to swig it down. The well-dressed man asked, I always heard Earth was an easy target. Putting the drink down, the other man says, at first it was. The first couple times I saw Earth, the raids went off without much trouble at all. After a while, though, they became more and more prepared for us. That's why you will not find a willing mercenary to raid Earth anywhere. The well-dressed man straightened up and asked, who said anything about a raid?